Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today, I've been looking for something to do with some Meyer lemons because I managed to grow some Meyer lemons over the past winter. In my greenhouse, they ripened and they are ready, and I picked them all and I didn't know what to do with them. But there should be plenty for this recipe. We're going to be working from Melissa Clark's Dinner in French, and we're going to be making Meyer lemon tart with olive oil and Fleur de Sel. Not sure if I have Fleur de Sel. I have some Malden sea salt. Whatever. It's just something you put on top for a little saltiness. If I have it, we'll use it. But first, we're going to be making the crust. You can make the crust ahead, and it definitely has to sit in the refrigerator for at least an hour after you kind of get it all put together. So we're going to go ahead and make that. You can make the filling ahead, but we're going to go ahead and get the crust done. I have all of my ingredients, including butter, that's in the refrigerator, because even though there is olive oil, it's not in the crust. It also has a lot of butter in it and a lot of eggs. So this is a food processor crust recipe. So into the food processor, I'm going to add, this is all-purpose flour, and then some fine almond flour. It doesn't say fine, but you could also use blanched sliced almonds. If you use those, you are supposed to grind them up sort of with the flour. So you'll have to pulse it more than you do with the flour because it's already ground up. And of course, so here you can kind of see there's some sort of gray stuff on top of my sugar. That is fine sea salt. And other than that, it's just sugar in here. So we're going to add all of this into our food processor. And I'm just going to pulse it a little bit to mix it all together. Again, if you're using blanched almonds, you'll want to pulse it more until there are no big pieces of almonds left. That's good for me. Now there's a cloud of powder. This is very cold, unsalted butter that has been basically cubed, relatively small pieces. Mine are relatively small pieces. She doesn't say specifically that they have to be small. We're just going to put this in here. And pulse it a few times to break the pieces of butter into about a chickpea size. Might be a little smaller than a chickpea for some of them, but my pieces didn't start out much larger than chickpeas. And to this, I'm going to drizzle in this beaten egg. I have an egg with a little bit of water in here, so we're going to just put it around the sides. There we go. And pulse until it comes together as a dough. Hopefully it will. It's not dough-like, but I'm gonna it doesn't quite. So in this case, you can, if it's a little too crumbly, you can add a little water, about a tablespoon at a time. So I'm gonna go put some cold water in here. And I'm just going to, this just had the little bit of egg in it, egg and water. So I'm going to put a little water in it, and we are going to pulse it again. I think we are getting there a little bit better. It's a little bit more like a dough when I squeeze it together. I'm going to do one more tablespoon and hope that that's enough. Feel like I tend to overdo it at this point, but that definitely looks more dough-like. Yep. If anything, a little bit more than needed, but that is good. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to get rid of my food processor so I can work here. So I have some plastic wrap here. I'm going to dump all of my dough, get all of this dough into the plastic wrap. We're going to form this into a disc about an inch thick. So we're going for, and I can definitely see little bits of butter in there, which is, you know, something you want to see at this point. It should not be entirely uniform. There we go. I'm just going to wrap it up. And this needs to go in the refrigerator for at least an hour. You can make this, I think she says, up to 5 days ahead. And it'll just stick in the refrigerator. We will probably be putting this all together tomorrow, but after I do a few household chores, we might come back to make the filling. All right. So I've done some more work outside, and now I'm ready to make the filling for our Meyer lemon tart. In here, I already have the sugar and some more of the fine sea salt. That's the gray stuff on top, measured out. But I have to zest my Meyer lemons. So I'm going to be doing that for a while. Probably not talking very much, but she does say that if you don't have Meyer lemons, you can use just lemons for the zest, and then a mixture of lemon juice and orange juice for the juice part. But let me get these all zested. Done zesting. I don't know how these are inside. I don't know if they're going to be very juicy. I did a really poor job of keeping them watered well in my greenhouse, but this one looks good. That's good. Oh, I need to measure this because if there's not quite enough, I need to have more juice. I will have to juice some other ones, but we'll see. This one is probably the driest of the ones I had, but not bad. I'm feeling pretty successful with my Meyer lemons for the first year. I am just a little bit shy of the amount I'm supposed to have. So I think about half a one will probably be right. We'll see. Maybe another whole one. The recipe does say to only use the zest of the first ones, but if you need more juice, use an extra. And that is pretty much exactly what I need. So we're going to stop there. Just want to put this in here. Our juice. What else? Right, so in here we have the lemon zest, the lemon juice, the sugar, the salt. We need to add our olive oil. This is where the olive oil comes in. It's going to be in the curd, which is not standard. It's usually just butter, but... And then more unsalted butter. I'm just going to, I don't have to cut this as small. I'm just going to cut it up a little bit so that it melts a little more quickly. There we go. So this we are eventually going to basically melt, simmer, and melt the butter and simmer it, get it to a simmering point, get the sugar all melted as well. But first, we need to take care of our eggs. So I have, it says to use a kitchen towel. I've got these paper towels that I was already using, so why not use them? And a heat-proof bowl. And do not lose my eggs. That would be a mess, and I don't have that many more eggs currently. So I'm just going to break all of my eggs into the bowl. Luckily, we use whole eggs. I kind of hate having to deal with extra yolks or whites if you only use... I got so used to cracking my eggs like flat. So we're going to get these whisked up well. Now that this is ready, I'm going to go ahead and get my other mixture simmering, melted, simmering, all of that. And then we'll be ready to combine them. Medium heat for that for right now. And I'm going to also get a bowl to set up because after we're all done, we're supposed to strain it into a bowl. Since I know that I'm going to store this and not make this tonight, I'm going to make the whole tart tomorrow. I wanted to put it in something that I know has a lid, so I've got this already. I didn't know if my smaller glass containers actually would fit all of this. It seems like it's going to be a little bit too much. So hopefully. So my mixture is all melted and it just started getting a few bubbles. Now we're going to temper our eggs by adding about 1/3 of this slowly as I whisk. This will keep the eggs from completely scrambling, hopefully. That should be good. And now add this back into the rest of the pot. Oh, shoot. And try not to spill it. And I'm going to whisk it while I... This is not going to work for me. Whisk it while I do so. Just look, there was a little bit of shell. I did miss some. But we are going to strain it, so if I left any other shell or if there are any bits of egg that do kind of form lumps, that will help. Hopefully that won't happen now. All right, so now this goes to the stove at medium-low heat, and I'll have my cameraman bring it around so you guys can kind of watch. And I don't need the whisk anymore, but I do need either a wooden spoon or a silicone spatula. We're supposed to cook this supposedly about 5 minutes or until it coats the back of a spoon. So we are going to cook this a little bit in the oven. Once it all goes together, it does get cooked in the oven all together, but I don't know if that really thickens it up anymore. So we're just going for probably our final thickness. And I think it's going to take more than 5 minutes, especially at medium-low heat. So, but you do need to stir this the whole time. It's been almost 5 minutes already, and I feel like it's not doing a darn thing. Oh, there we go. Definitely getting some thickening on the bottom while I was trying to get a little speck out. From what I've read before, that is coating the back of a spoon because you can drag your finger through it and it stays. but I have not had a good experience with that actually thickening up as much as I would want in this situation. So I'm going to cook it a little bit longer. Closing in on 15 minutes here. I'm about to call this done. I don't know if it will. I think it'll thicken up more as it cools, especially when it goes in the refrigerator. But I'm not sure that it is the right texture. I feel like it hasn't changed all that much in the past few minutes. So I think we're going to call it done. And definitely is coating the back of a spoon. So I'm going to turn it off. We're going to strain it into our bowl. There we go. So I'm going to let this cool for a little bit out on the counter, and then I'm going to put a piece of plastic wrap directly on top of the surface of this to keep it from getting a skin on it. And then it's going to go in the fridge, and we'll be back when we're ready to put it all together and make a tart. It's the next day. Our curd is in the refrigerator. Our tart crust is in the refrigerator. It's time to roll it out. I don't have my oven heated yet because even after we roll it out and fill up the tart pan, we have to chill it again. So speaking of our tart pan, I have a 9-inch and an 11-inch. So I'm going to be using the 11-inch. The recipe calls for a 10-inch. I think it's probably going to be a little much filling for a 9-inch. It'll be fine. It might cook a little faster. It might be a little thinner. We'll see. But I'm going with my 11-inch one. This is our lemon tart thing. Okay, so I just took this out of the refrigerator. We want it to be cold. And I'm going to roll it out. She says a 13-inch round, which should be about good enough. I might need to go a little bit more for my slightly larger pan, but this is going to be tough. Just because it's cold, and I might need to add some flour, especially considering I think mine was a little extra soft. Probably could have gotten away with a tablespoon and a half-ish of flour, or flour of water instead of 2, but that's all right. So what I'm going to do is grab the removable bottom, and we need at least an inch on every side. So it looks like I'm a little light in a couple places. So I'm going to go just a little more on those sides. And I've seen, let's see, I'm pretty sure I saw Mary Berry do this way to transfer it, where she put it underneath and then folded everything in. And then you can drop it in and fold it out. Try to get it into the corners. That's the hardest part there. It looks like I wish I could, just might need to pull it over, just not quite that much, but a little tiny bit. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is use this, my rolling pin, to trim off the excess. Then I need a little bit. Looks like it's not going to be perfect. All right, I'm going to try to patch on a little bit where it seems light on the edges. So now that we've worked this and gotten it warm, we're going to need to chill it. But first, I'm supposed to dock it with a fork sort of all over. Good enough. All right, I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, and then we'll be back to blind bake it first. My crust has been in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. We're going to blind bake it. So my oven is at 350 degrees, and I am going to line this with, I'm going to use parchment. She says to use foil. I've had some problems previously with foil where it's stuck, and I just don't want to deal with that. I'm going to use these beans that I use always for pie weights. She says you can use, pie weights, obviously, or rice, or beans. So I'm going to use these. And this is going to go in the oven. I'm putting it on the pan because it's a lot easier and you won't accidentally lift the crust out because of that bottom. We're going to bake it for 15 minutes at 350 degrees. And then we'll come back and finish this up. Okay. So this has been in the oven for about 10 minutes. No, 15 minutes. And now I need to transfer these out. So this is going to be super fun, but I don't want them to end up in my crust. So I've got this bowl just to drop it onto. There we go. Whew. All right. This goes back in the oven, still 350 degrees for 5 to 10 minutes until it is golden. So this has been in the oven for 10 minutes. It's kind of slumped a little bit. It's got a little bit of an air bubble, but we got to let this sit for about 5 minutes before we fill it. So hopefully that'll go down. If not, I might coax it a little bit before we put the filling in. But 5 minutes on a rack. I've also turned the temperature down to 325. So almost there. Almost. Use this to kind of coax it down while it's still warm. This is my lemon curd that has been in the refrigerator overnight, just like the crust. I was a little concerned about how thick this was last night, that it wasn't quite thick enough, but we are going to bake it until it is only jiggles slightly in the center, so that's okay. The fact that this is not a fully set curd is fine at this point. I mean, I guess it is kind of a curd, but it's not set enough to cut, but that's okay because we're going to bake it. So I'm going to put all this in here and smooth it out. And it might not quite reach the top, but because mine's a little bit larger than what it calls for, but it seems perfectly fine. Not like it's going to be super thin. But it may cook, since I did cook mine a little bit longer and it is a little bit thinner, it may cook a little bit quicker than it would if it were, you know, a thicker tart. But so I will be keeping an eye on it. Okay, we'll call that good. And that's just a little bonus for the chef. We're going to put this back in our oven. It's at 325 for 45 to 55 minutes. I'm going to definitely check mine. I might check mine at 30 just to be sure, just to be safe. And then she says the curd may brown slightly, and that's fine. But if the crust starts to get too brown, you might want to put foil on the crust, the exposed area of the crust. But into the oven we go, and we will let you know when we're done, show you what it looks like, and let you know exactly how long it took for my tart to bake. All right. This tart just came out of the oven. I just wanted to show you. It does jiggle a little bit. I went the full 55 minutes. I checked it at 30. It wasn't done. At 45, it was not too jiggly, but I decided it needed some more, and so we went for the full 55. And now it's kind of bubbly. When I first took it out, it was a little bubbly, so hopefully we didn't overcook it, but we will see in just a minute. Well, actually, we have to let this cool completely, so it'll be, you know, a few seconds for you, but quite a bit of time for me. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make the Meyer lemon tart with olive oil and Fleur de Sel from Melissa Clark's Dinner in French. I think that we needed to par bake the crust a little bit more, probably before we took the beans out, so it's kind of hard to tell, but it did slump a little bit and get a little thick at the edges after I took those out. In the end, it was still delicious. The filling was baked appropriately. I was a little concerned about the curd not being the right consistency, but because we did bake it for so long, I think we baked it for the full 55 minutes, getting it to the point where it does coat the back of the spoon like, you know, normal, not super thick like I think we needed for the banana pudding. That was a disaster because we just needed to cook it longer. I baked the tart as a whole for so long that it was certainly fine. And it was delicious. Everybody enjoyed it, both with and without the salt. We did not add whipped creme fraiche because I didn't have creme fraiche, but whipped cream was by itself fine. Just plain whipped cream was absolutely fine. So we enjoyed this. Whole family enjoyed it. They were a little sad when it was gone. So I may make another one. We'll see. I have enough Meyer lemons left from my tree this year that I need to use up before they go bad. So we might make another one pretty soon. We'll see. If you've enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.